Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, and I started these conversations because life doesn't give us do-overs. So this is a space where we get a chance to reflect and tell our story again, with more grace for ourselves, and hopefully make us all better for having listened. I was excited to sit down this week with Melissa Fuchs Powell, a professional beach volleyball player and founder of Project Beach Utah. If you know her by her Instagram and TikTok game, you know why she's the most approachable and hilarious beach player out there. Come listen as we cover confidence, creativity, and the unconventional path of a beach volleyball player training in Utah. She's an amazing athlete and an even better human. I have to say, thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking the time for, I want to hear all about Project Beach Utah. My best friend lives in St. George, so during the pandemic, I spent a lot of time up in Utah. I would get crazy down here and everything would be locked and I'd be like, I'm getting in the car, I'm driving to Utah because life was a little more open and free and less crowded.
Yeah.
And, I was like, okay, I can breathe up here. Don't have to be feeling scared to breathe, basically.
Yeah, scared to leave your house.
Yeah. So thanks so much for agreeing to do this today.
Yeah, no, thank you. I love your podcast. It's so cool. I like what you do.
You were definitely one of the first people that I thought of because I love your Instagram content and I love both that you put up some super hilarious stuff and you put up some really thoughtful stuff. So between those two things, I feel like you're bringing great energy to the volleyball community and I'm all about the same thing. So I'm really excited to talk to you today about all of those things.
Thank you. I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're just you're just back from Brazil, right?
Yep. We just made it back on Monday.
And how was that trip?
It was fun. It was long. To get to Itapema, it's a pretty long flight, and I was supposed to do this photo shoot before, so I booked a ticket to barely make it in time for the technical meeting. And I mean, it's Brazil. I am Brazilian, so I do know things are slower there. So it was kind of a mistake on my part thinking that everything was going to go smoothly. So our plane was delayed and we were sitting on the tarmac. No one's telling us anything. And it's an hour delay. And we're we are not going to make it to the technical meeting. And I couldn't change my flight because I was supposed to do a photo shoot and I booked my ticket in advance. And the ticket was already super expensive. So then I was like, okay, well, let's just hope for the best. And I didn't end up doing the shoot, so I was really annoyed. But
oh no,
we get there and we were I know everyone in Brazil because I played there.
Okay.
So I messaged the organizer. I messaged a few of the girls. I'm like, hey, we are literally on the way. We're gonna be 10 minutes late. And usually if you're late to the technical meeting, you can't play. And you do have to do a COVID test. So once we got there, they were oh, the COVID test people left. And we're oh no, we did all this work for nothing. But then they were still in the premises. So then they came back and everything was okay. So it was pretty hectic and crazy. And we got in and we got to bed at midnight. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
We got to bed at midnight and then we played the next day, and so it was all just super quick. But it was cool because we got on the list. We got in last minute, and that happens to so many volleyball players. You're buying a flight night of and you're just send it.
Yep, totally. I mean, and it's funny. I was talking with Evan Corey yesterday about, not qualifying in Atlanta and flying out to Seaside and these stories of just, kind of flying by the seat of your pants because you love the sport and you're in it for the experience and to win it. And there some pretty fun stories come out of these things. So
exactly. It's all about the adventure, I was in Mexico as well. And I found out literally the night before And I wasn't even technically in the tournament yet, but I had heard that one girl was going to drop. And then they were like, if you have proof of a flight, you can miss the technical meeting as long as you have proof of a flight. So I was like, do I buy this extremely expensive flight and just go and fly all night, land and play? And I was like, yes, absolutely.
That's so amazing. And who's your partner?
My partner, her name is Tamber Nobles. She's new to the beach. She played indoor at BYU.
Okay.
She was on their historic national runner-up team. They were like ranked very low, and they were the Cinderella story in 2014.
Okay.
And they ended up making the national championship. So she's been playing beach she's been playing for like 4 years, but like training wise, she's never really had training. So this is her first year of like actual training.
Okay. And she's one of your Project Beach Utah athletes?
Yeah, so cool story about her. So she was on the developmental team, and we have like an internal ranking system,
Okay.
and she ended up taking first place in that ranking system, and just like really impressing me, and just like working extremely hard, and like the potential was like super high. And since she was first on our rankings, we decided to move her up to the pro level. That's kind of why we have our internal rankings. We want to like move the developmental team up to the pro level. And she was first, and she totally earned it. So it was pretty awesome.
Wow. And your Project Beach story, I started watching it, it kind of popped up on my Instagram and I was like, oh, beach volleyball in Utah. And then I realized you were behind it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is looking pretty cool. And so tell me a little bit about, your mission there and how you got started.
Yeah. So every time someone asks me, like, where are you from? I'm like Utah. And they're just like, and you're a professional beach volleyball player? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, do you play at the Great Salt Lake or like Utah Lake? I'm like, no, there is such thing as man-made beaches. So when I moved to Brazil, I was on the beach in Brazil, but there they just had like a system in place like that really helped their professional athletes like excel. They have a coach, they have a physical therapist, they have like the city is behind them, like they have support from their city. They're representing their city on the professional tour. And I think that was really cool to see, and just like really eye-opening. And I was like, I want to kind of mimic that in the US and do it in places that don't have beaches. I was like, I want to help, like Utah, no beaches. You don't think like Utah is a big, huge beach volleyball area, but we do have a lot of athletes that come from Utah that are the best, like Jake Gitt.
For sure.
Like
yeah.
He's from Utah. So we have the talent. So I was just like, but there was really no high level coaches here. There was nothing. And so I was like, I kind of want to make like a team and a support system to kind of help athletes in these areas that don't have beaches, that don't really have support, like get the support that they need. Because I thought I had to move to California to pursue this dream. And like I'm married, and my husband took a job here in Utah, and I was like kind of bummed about it because I lived in Brazil in Huntington, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like pursue beach in Utah. And then I thought about Project Beach Utah, and I was like, why don't, instead of just like trying to pursue it for myself, why don't I create a community? I create that competition that I need. Why don't I help others also develop the dreams that I have within the area? So then Project Beach Utah was born, and initially it was one thing, and then it just started evolving into other things. I wasn't going to do like a dev team right away, but this one girl reached out and was like, hey, I would love to be a part of what you're doing. So then I was like, okay, I guess I could probably start a developmental team right now. And so I started out with like 8 athletes. They had no idea what they were doing. I was just like, hey, tryouts at 5 p.m., you know, like come try out. And like we had like 15 girls at the tryout, and they were like, we don't really know what this is, but we want to get better and we want support. So we came. And now we're sitting at,
were they mostly indoor, like indoor players that were coming to learn the beach?
yeah. So it was kind of a mix. Utah has like a pretty decent sized beach community. They just don't like train. They just like play, you know, like just like free play or like tournaments. So they were like already on the beach, kind of familiar with the beach, but not like in-depth training. Mm-hmm. So it was like a mix. We had like 4 girls were like indoor girls only that just like really wanted to try beach out, and then the rest were like just already in the community that wanted to get better. And they came out, and we have more than 70 athletes, so it's pretty awesome.
Wow. And when did you get started?
Last May.
So 70 athletes in a year. That's really that's impressive. And I do believe, like, from what I've seen,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, what I've seen, like the way the game is growing is in places like this. Like I'm from Fresno, the Central Valley of California, and found a program that is now signing, they signed their first college athlete last year. They're training juniors, but it's literally
that's awesome.
6 courts out in the middle of the vineyards. And in the Central Valley. And it's and then you see places like Nashville Beach and Bulldog Beach down in Mississippi, and all these places where, you think, oh, that's not a beach volleyball place, but that's where the game's growing outside of this little, South Bay, historical home of beach volleyball where Jason and I are sitting. But I love seeing these athletes. And my story, I came to love beach volleyball when the AVP came to Fresno in like 1989, and I was like in eighth or ninth grade, and it just took me by storm. I was like, what is this? 25,000 people showed up to watch the final, and it's still on YouTube today. You can catch it. It is insane. And that's how I fell in love with beach volleyball. And there was nowhere to play except for that they built this facility out on the San Joaquin River, and it is pretty amazing to see, like, it's a sport that catches on, and it's positive and it's outdoor and it creates community, and it's like a healthy way, to bring people together. And what I love watching even down here is whenever you see people playing, no matter what level they're at, they're having a good time. They're either cracking up and laughing because they don't know what they're doing, and then they learn from there, or, you get them involved in some great coaching, and man, it starts looking, it looks like just a thing of beauty, so.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like at PBU, we have a bunch of athletes that aren't looking to be professional.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. Like, we just created a community of friends. They joke with me. They're like, I'm paying to have friends.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
And it's like, and within PBU, we have like the ranking system. We have tournaments. We have like, goals, and like they create those goals. Like, maybe they don't really have like a hobby or like a goal that they're really working towards in their personal life. And maybe they've never been on like a team in high school or something, or like college. And so I'm finding that they're really loving that community aspect of it, not necessarily getting better at beach volleyball.
Yeah.
But like bringing it, like having friends, having a goal, getting healthy. Like, we provide workouts, and, like doing the workouts, like they get points for doing the workouts. They get points for showing up to practice. They get points for placing at a tournament, like all these different things that gives them like purpose in life. And like, me as a collegiate athlete, like kind of lost myself a little bit after college, because you put your identity as like athlete, and you can be an athlete, forever. Like, it doesn't have to be like at the same level, And like that's been a little bit of a transition for me to, like, obviously I play professionally now, but I know there's like a few ex-collegiate athletes in my program, and they've said like it's been good to find identity as an athlete still post college, and not having to be like, this is my life, like this is just an aspect of my life, as opposed to it is my life, you know.
Yeah. And you know, as life goes on, and that's definitely something that I resonate with. Because as you get older, you add so many other facets of responsible life, right? I mean, you get married, you have kids, you have a job, you have to, you know, make money and save money and all of these
Yeah,
things. And it pulls you away from that identity of, you know, what you get to focus on for yourself. But being a healthy person has
right.
so much to do with the success you have and all those other facets of life. And those outlets, like you know, I was involved in, before I moved to the beach, and I grew up playing indoor volleyball, but I got involved in masters swimming. And what I always loved about that community is the same thing. It's a sense of community with goals and, you know, swim meets and the things that you can do to set goals for yourself, and then have friendships that are based around those same types of things. And that's what
Exactly.
yeah. And it is amazing because those moments that you get to focus on yourself get you through all of the other adult like things, you know, the adult life that you have, you know, becomes
Exactly.
the responsibility. But that part of
Exactly.
you being an athlete never leaves you. And any athlete you talk to, they still have that sense of competition and wanting to do well for themselves. And yeah, to have that
Right.
is huge, because those outlets do go away if you don't look for them. But
Exactly. Like Tamber, my partner Tamber, she is a mom of two, and she says that beach volleyball, like playing every day, makes her a better mother because she can go and like take out her frustrations in practice, or like she has a different outlet to look at to, and then she has things to pursue. She wants to be like a good athlete, a dedicated person for her children, you know. So being a mom has made her a better beach volleyball player, and vice versa.
yeah, it's so cool, and it sets such an awesome example for your kids too. You know, I mean, my kids don't ever remember a time that I wasn't working out. You know what I mean? Like, it becomes part of. They're like, oh yeah, there she goes. She's going to yoga. She's going to play volleyball. She's going to, and it when they watch that from a young age, it sets that, you know,
Right.
them in motion to be a person in motion, a person who knows how to compete and have a purpose and all of that stuff. And you can say everything you say pales in comparison to whatever the things that you do. They watch you. And so that's really cool. And I'm sure she'll have some rock star
Yes.
little athletes as they grow
Yeah,
up
for
watching their
sure.
mom play ball with you. So that's really cool. I'm always, I was actually just watching, I don't know if you've seen Being Serena. It's because
I haven't.
it's really cool, but it starts with her finding out she's pregnant at the Australian Open, and that concept of like winning something. You know, she won the tournament, I think, didn't drop a set, and that concept of like playing for something, another generation, something more. It's like it just
Exactly.
is really cool. So um so tell me a little bit about, I love the confidence and creativity you have in your Instagram and TikTok, and that you're hilarious with all of your little volleyball, you know, the setter and the middle
Thank you.
blocker. The first one that got me was the middle blocker who's always in the way, because hello, I remember those days so well. I was a middle blocker, but you come up with like such awesome things that are just they crack you up. So, you know, tell me a little bit about that, and your reasoning and the fun you have with your TikTok and Instagram game.
Yes. So I've always loved to make videos since I was little. Like when your friends would come over and be like, "What should we do?" I'd be like, "Let's make a video,"
Oh,
or
so
like, "Let's record." Like, and I'd be like the news broadcaster, and I'd be like, "Today my brother hit me and he went to jail," you know, like
yeah.
since I was little. So I've loved being like on camera and like acting. I'm like, I'm not the greatest actor, but I have passion, you know, like I think I hit home the part.
Yeah, you do.
But so when Vine, are you familiar with Vine?
Yeah, I do remember it. I wasn't really on it, but yeah, I do remember.
So Vine came out when I was in high school, and I thought it was so funny. It was just like 10-second long videos, and I was just like scroll through, and I'm like, this is hilarious. And then me and my two friends on my volleyball team, we decided to make a Vine account, and we started just making videos every day, just like posting. And we ended up generating a pretty big following to the point where we would be recognized in Utah around like the mall or whatever. And
that's awesome.
They'd be like, oh, you are those girls on Vine. And I wish I would have kept up with it, because I literally see Vine people on like movies now. I'm like,
really?
You got famous on freaking Vine. Yeah. So I was like, dang it, that could have been me. No,
yeah.
But so I was kind of like familiar with like videos like that. And when TikTok was Musically, before it was TikTok, I was student teaching at the time, and I had a 5th grade class, and they were like, you need to get Musically and make videos. And I was like, okay. So I downloaded it, and then I started making like dumb little Musically videos for my 5th graders, and they loved it. And then I kind of just stopped after like graduation, and I made one video. I was like, I'm sick of like posting just like bikini pics all the time. I'm like, I want to post something cool or funny. Like I love to make people laugh. So I was like, I want to post something funny. And so I posted a video. It was beach volleyball problems. It was my first like funny video on my Instagram account that kind of was similar to Vine. And it went viral, and like the beach volleyball community really liked it. And then that kind of like lit the fire for like funny videos. So then I started making small beach volleyball skits. And then I would go to like beach volleyball tournaments, and people would be like, hey, I loved your like beach volleyball skit on like the ref not even paying attention or whatever.
Totally.
And yeah, so it just like kind of grew from there. And then my brother was like, hey, TikTok's getting pretty big. You should try TikTok. And I was like, no, it's nothing like Vine. It could never compare to Vine. I was like super stubborn. And then one day I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. So I made a video, and it was a really embarrassing video of like me making these hideous faces that are just terrible. And it was funny. And I was like, this is funny. I'm going to post it on my story. And when I posted on my story, I got like 20 people like, oh, this is hilarious. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to post it on my feed. I posted it on my feed, and I swear I lost like 5,000 followers.
Are you serious?
And then I was like, you know, I'm okay with it, because they were probably creepy, weird men that were just following me for like bikini pics.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, I need to switch my demographic anyways. So I posted that first video, and then it was like, boom, every week I was like making a funny video, because I just have so much fun. I like watch myself. I'm like, I'm ridiculous. I'm like 27 years old making these dumb little videos. And I just like, the ideas just kept coming and boom, boom, boom. And then it just caught fire, and people like started sharing it, and they're just like relatable. So people like to share them. And I just like think back to like my experiences as an indoor athlete. And
here comes Jason. He's bringing up some
this
of
is
them.
one of my favorite ones.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite ones. Oh yeah, so I just have so much fun doing it. Like people, like all my beach volleyball partners are like, they're always in the background of like one of my videos, and they will all talk to each other. They're like, she making a video?
Yeah. Well, it's such a cool commentary on, you know, you taking, like turning your feet into the real you, you know, and being okay with, okay, the first time I post that and whoever I lost, you're like, okay, you weren't my people anyway. And then seeing that, you know, the real community that connects with who you really are, and then growing that.
Exactly.
Because that to me is the beauty of social media, when there's so many things that we're fighting in being inauthentic, and in young people who compare themselves to each other, and everyone wanting to be more like everybody else versus being yourself and letting that resonate. And I think that's what attracted me to what you were doing, because it really does come off. You can tell your personality is in it. And then that's to me what I would want to communicate to the next generation about, like, whatever you're putting up there, make sure it's really you, you know, and whether that's volleyball or acting or, you know, time with your friends, but just like be yourself and don't be afraid to be yourself.
That clip had 500,000 views. It's like 624,000 views, man. I was just looking at like the numbers.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, no, she's legendary. The stuff she puts up, you gotta follow it, Jay. It's
like the last two alone, just like the
Wow.
last two you did. There's another one called The Crowd. Can I play that? I'm gonna play that one too. Okay, let me just handle that. Let's just have a little fun here, okay? Sorry. Whoops. Let's turn that off. Let's do that, and let's do this. That back set though.
She's really good.
Jesus fucking Christ.
They're awesome. They're just so good. And it, you know, video, I will be honest with you, like, video is something I have totally struggled with. I have like a background that is like, being seen was really hard for me. Like, oh, you need attention. And so I'm really impressed with people that come out and do these videos. Like, the first time I put a camera in my face, I literally teared up. Like, I was like, get that thing out of my face. I don't want to be on it. And so I'm always like, I've done a ton of work to be able to be in this space and be like comfortable. But I love people and their stories so much. You always have to find what you connect with. And for me, it's storytelling. But like, you're so hilarious in the way, you know, and the way that creativity comes to you, it comes off so authentic.
I'm following. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, there you go. Yeah, good. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, you've blown this up from, you know, and just being a volleyball player and not, you know, there was another post you put up, because you do mix all of the amazing funny videos with then some really soulful, awesome, like, growth mindset posts about, you know, not comparing yourself to other people and showing up on the court. And I think there was one post I hit you after that was, you were traveling and you showed up and you said it was the worst match of your life. And then you just put up this super amazingly vulnerable post that was like, hey, but we were there and we did it. Like, tell me a little bit about that one, because I love the mix between what you're doing. It's just so real.
Yeah. So I've had like a little bit of a problem in my career as like mixing up the final goal with like the journey, and like, you really put into perspective when you don't play anymore. Like, COVID kind of hit and you're like not playing, and I was missing like losing. It was like you never thought that you'd miss like getting crushed by like, you know, like top players. You never thought that you'd miss that feeling until you don't have it. And it really put into perspective, like, you gotta like enjoy the journey, because sometimes you're not gonna make your goal, you're not gonna make your end destination, and the whole time you're just gonna be unhappy. And it's like, you gotta find the things that matter within that journey, because the journey ends up being like the final destination, because we can't really control the outcome. We can't really control the end goal, but we can control small things throughout, and we can control like what we're paying attention to. So sometimes I feel like a lot of people get lost in like that end goal. And like, I for sure was like, wow, we lost so bad. Like, the score was so embarrassing, and it was streaming for the entire world to see. And it's like, man, but then I can look back and I'm like, I literally got on a flight that day and didn't sleep. And I was there and I was playing against the one of the top 10 teams in the world. And like, that was so much fun. And I was in a freaking bowl arena. It was like the Toro Bowl like
Yeah.
arena. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and did you ever think like, okay, what year did you graduate from college?
I graduated with my master's in 2018.
Okay. And you were an indoor, when did you start playing beach volleyball?
So I started playing beach my sophomore year of college. It wasn't technically like actual year. It was like our inaugural year, so we didn't compete. So technically my junior year was my first year. And
that was at Houston Baptist?
Yeah, that was at Houston Baptist.
Okay. And you know what I love about that is
I played junior and senior year.
Sorry, I know we're getting delayed. I just watched Houston Baptist for the first time. I was visiting my daughter at TCU this past weekend, and they played Houston Baptist, and I had
awesome.
Yeah, and actually, they're good. They had a good squad. I mean, TCU's 2 in the country right now, and these girls were balling with them. Like there were some good matches.
They only have one loss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they win their conference pretty much every year. Like they're pretty good. They're like the underdogs. We're the dogs. They're the Huskies.
Yes,
so we're the
that.
Sandy underdogs.
I love it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Jason says you got a great
coach. Their coach is really good. Like TCU. Hector.
Oh, Hector's amazing.
Even last year when they didn't have a lot of talent, they still made the NCAAs as the 8th seed.
Yeah.
And the conference is stronger than everyone thinks. LSU, at that time had Kristen Nuss and Cloth, and they had some depth. And Florida State is always competitive. So just thought I'd put
follow
that caveat
NCAA
in before.
volleyball a lot.
So I was
totally TCU is really good.
Yeah, and then it's fun because they play each other. I mean, they're in the same area, so they play a lot of matches because they play the big schools, and then they also play, the schools that have helped them build that program and so they're playing way more matches than so many other schools are. But it's cool because they're climbing the ranks. Hector's built a really good program. But I was impressed with the Houston. I had never even heard of Houston Baptist, and I was like, wow, this is a pretty legit little program. Who? Yeah. So do you played in that program that it had just started?
Yeah, so I was there the first year that they started, and then I played there for 2 years, and then I did my 5th year at the University of Utah in the Pac-12. Their first year as well. So I was a part of 2 first years programs.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the advent of beach volleyball. I mean, this whole NCAA and what the girls that are coming out of these programs, and maybe you're seeing some of them at Project Beach Utah, it's like the training, the level of training that they're coming out with now, even just, in the last couple of years. I mean, it's incredible
crazy.
What's coming onto the pro circuit. Because of the level of coaching that they're getting in those 4 or 5 years that they're playing.
Totally.
So,
I just barely made it in time to get some,
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this chat as much as I am. For more inspiring conversations, go to BeBetterWithWendyJones.com.
One of the questions I had, and I was hoping Wendy would ask this, a lot of people do volleyball for escapism. It allows them to come back and do their job like a mammal. Like everyone has their escapism. Some people swim with sharks. Some people climb high mountains. You know what I'm saying? Some people sing karaoke. For you,
some people make TikToks.
Yeah. Well, that might be the answer to my question.
Yeah. So that's a good question because I did struggle with that a bit right after college, when it started to become my profession. I was like, it's not that fun anymore. So I'm like stressed. And I think that Project Beach Utah is definitely an outlet for me, like doing all the administration stuff for that and like trying to make a good experience for other athletes. That has really been a good escapism for me, as well as making the videos and like doing the content and stuff. That's always super fun. Sometimes it becomes frustrating because I have writer's block and I'm just like, I need to put a video out there, otherwise the algorithm will destroy me, blah blah blah. It's like, so sometimes it becomes like a nuance and like a little bit of a hassle to do my content. But I would say that like Project Beach Utah has really been where I'm able to like escape and like kind of do something else. But it does has to do with volleyball, but I'm not expected to like perform well. So it's like I have just something else to focus on and like something to keep me busy throughout the day when I'm not training all day or something. So I'd probably say that.
So you're enjoying the coaching aspect of...
I am. I mean, we would do it at 6 a.m. and before I brought my Brazilian coach here, I didn't enjoy waking up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
But I do, like, now I don't, because we have our coach and she does all of it now. She just came from Brazil. But I do miss it. And then I do coach like the youth and we're opening a mom group actually this summer, so I'm going to be coaching that, and it's a mom group with babysitting, so they can bring their kids.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and that's so necessary. Like I mean, I always said, like, I never thought I'd live in LA. I am so not an LA person, and granted, the South Bay is, it's its own little pocket. But I have said, and I'm coming off of, I haven't played in 2 months because I had ankle surgery, and I've always said, if I can't play volleyball, I don't know if I can stay here, because that is my outlet. And it is that place where you go and you connect with people that have like minds and that, care about the same stuff. And moms need that. Like, it's so imperative that you have something that belongs to you, that you enjoy, that you have like a, whatever goal it is you set, that there's just that outlet. And so that, like, my hat's off to you to providing that, because when my kids were little, like I said, it was a big deal. Like, and for me at that point, it was swimming, but
like you can like bring them and they can just like play around, but you're like worried about them, so like having a babysitter on, like watching them, at least you can like play and not have to worry about them,
Yeah, for sure. So, so tell me a little bit about the way the tour is going. Like, what are your volleyball goals for this next year? Like you say, like you get invited last minute, or how do you set goals around that with the way the tour is organized now?
Yeah, it's like pretty hard to know, because beach volleyball, just like Jason said, you have to be adaptable, because like you have no idea when the schedule is until like a month before. And you don't know if you're going to be in certain tournaments, or you don't know what the tournament's going to be like, if there's going to be a qualifier, or if you're going to have to qualify somewhere else, like, so it's really hard to set goals unless you're like at the top already. And you're like, your schedule, you're going to make all these events. So I think for now, like, my goal is to get to that point where I don't have to worry about if I'm in the event or not. That's the goal for now. It's like, just get my points to way up there, so I'm like confident, okay, I can go to these 3 events and I can plan for these 4 or whatever. Like, that's really my goal for this season, is to make sure I can plan for the next, like, and that also means like climbing the rankings, obviously, and like becoming a better volleyball player, and just like, winning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and a lot of that speaks to the confidence that you play with. And to be honest with you, I have not watched you play a lot, and I am not a real, like, I love the game, but I love the energy behind the game even more than like all the little technical aspects. And I've watched, I've seen you at, like I said, I think we met in Austin a couple years back, and you're super approachable, and you look like you're having fun, but your confidence seems to come from a different place than being like, I'm at the top of the leaderboard. I'm and so I'm wondering, like, when you talk to your younger athletes about confidence or where that comes from, if say you're not at the top of the pack, but you're in the hunt, right? So where does that
Yeah.
how do you build your confidence?
I think it came through experiences throughout my life. So my whole family is volleyball players. So like my mom and my dad played professionally indoor. My brother played professional. My sister played Division 1. So we're a volleyball family. So the number one thing is like the passion I have for it and the love that I have for the game. Like we grew up watching it. Like I also played basketball, but like my mom was like, yeah, find a ride for basketball. It's like volleyball or die in my household, and I'm Brazilian, so I'm just like a passionate person. So I think like number one thing is the passion. Number two is I have a really relaxed style of play, and in indoor that's not necessarily good. Everyone would always tell me I should be a beach player when I played indoor, because I was super relaxed, and they'd be like, oh, she's not good because she like doesn't try hard, or like it looks like I throughout my whole life, people would say it looks like you're not trying hard. Like, I was just like put down a lot growing up, but, I made the twos team when I was 13. Okay. And I think that was like the best thing for me because it actually forced me to be like, I need to prove people wrong. Like I want to be on the ones team. And we ended up like beating the ones team. And like, I never made a twos team again because I was like adamant that I was going to prove everyone wrong. And I was like an undersized outside. So like I worked hard in the gym to get like a higher vertical. So, and then I went to like a smaller Division 1 program, and still like, even on the beach, people were like, oh, she didn't come from UCLA. She didn't come from LSU. Like people are just constantly putting me down throughout my whole life. So I've been like proving people wrong for a long time. Yeah. So I'm like used to like the initial put down and realization that I do need to work harder than most of the other people because I'm not like 7 feet tall, or I didn't go to UCLA or LSU, like I do come from more humble beginnings. So I do have to kind of work harder to accomplish my goals. So like putting in that work gives me confidence to succeed and kind of like, I can do that. I've proven myself wrong many times. So I'm like, I can continue doing it. So when I talk to like young athletes, it's like hard because I also struggled with, I don't want to be cocky. Like, I don't want to say like, I'm good and like be cocky. So I would just not say anything. And I would kind of put myself down a little bit to like counteract that. Like, oh, I'm not as good as her, or like, I'm not as good as blah, blah, blah. So it's like, like, even to this day, it's like hard for me to be like cocky. Cause like, I don't want to be cocky. I don't want to be associated as cocky. So I'm like, how do you be confident? Yeah. Without being cocky. And one thing that I've learned, and one thing that I would go back and tell my younger self like to do, and my younger athletes, would totally be like that you can be confident without being cocky, in a sense that you believe you are good and you're not comparing yourself to anyone else. Like that is where cockiness comes in, is where I'm like, I am better than you. And that is where like the cockiness can come into play. But you can still say I'm good and it's okay. And you're not cocky because you have to have confidence in yourself, and belief in yourself. So I wish I would have learned that a little bit sooner. I think it would have helped me in like the confidence aspect. But I think the growth mindset really comes from just being an underdog and just like trying to strive to prove people wrong.
Yeah, I absolutely resonate. I love everything you're saying there because, and it's fun. The more of these conversations I have, I was talking with a coach and school psychologist, a friend of mine, a couple episodes ago, and we were talking about hungry, humble, and happy. and those three things, and how you can be hungry and want to be good and still be humble, right? And how do you stay humble as you get better? But that whole concept of like being able to shine and not taking that away, you're not taking away from anybody else when you are playing at you're striving to be your best, and you can't be your best unless you're confident, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that concept of that abundance mindset of knowing like I can take up all the space that I need to be my best, and that's not taking away from anybody else.
Yeah.
And it actually in so many ways makes you a better teammate because you're helping other people rise as you rise. But it's the
exactly.
Yeah, and I always say my thing is compete with yourself, collaborate with your community, and it works the same on a team, right? I mean, the better you are, the more you bring people up around you. And it's not thinking that you are better than somebody. It's the concept of being your best self. But yeah, it's hard. That does get hung.
Yes.
For people who want to be humble, and especially was that a value that was in your home? Like, was that taught? Do you feel like that came from your parents or?
Yes, definitely. They came from very humble beginnings. Like they were very poor growing up and had to work for everything that they've gotten, you know. And so it's really like since I was little, I was just grateful for everything that they did for me. And they taught us like you need to be humble because other people, you know, struggle and get to where they are just like we did. And like you never had to struggle. Like I never had to face what they had to face. And so that was really prominent growing up is like, yeah, I should be humble and grateful for what I have. And I shouldn't be like boasting, and I shouldn't, you know, it's just like a family trait that they've passed on to me, not necessarily by them saying, be humble, you know,
Yeah.
like
again,
just
probably,
by their example.
Yeah. By modeling. Yeah. That's huge. What, you said you have a brother and a sister. What number are you? Birth order.
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest. So you
the
have
youngest is always the best. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, I mean, we call them gym rats, right? I mean, you were probably sitting there watching a lot of volleyball before you were playing it, right? And how old were you?
Yeah.
How old were you when someone tossed a volleyball at you?
I was 6.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a lifetime of volleyball. So, it's pretty fun. And where'd your siblings play?
My brother played for BYU and my sister played for the University of Utah and Weber State.
Okay, cool. And do you guys still play as a family?
We don't, because everyone's body is broken.
Oh no. I can identify with that too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I live with my mom and dad in their basement, and they just built like an indoor volleyball court. So we'll probably start playing.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah, we need to have a retreat at your house.
Yeah, come on over.
That sounds incredible. Like, we flow at my house. Like, I have gone from being like everything needs to look a certain way, everything needs to, and to like, okay, we're coming in like this, we're gonna do the best we can with what we got, and then and we roll with it. And the level of stress that takes off of life, to just let yourself be who you are and see what comes in and see the people that want to hang out with that and, you know, be part of that story is like, oh my gosh, it's so freeing. It's so
nice.
I like the word freeing.
Yeah. So I'm constantly looking for people that, you know, want to go a little deeper on life and talk, you know, I feel like this volleyball community provides us with so many amazing people, but like there's always a story that's a little deeper than volleyball. And,
yeah, for
you know,
sure.
It comes out in the game and the way we play the game and the why behind, you know, why we play the game. But, you know, I'm curious to see, I'm excited to watch your Project Beach thing take off in Utah. And I actually would love to come up and play on those courts when I get this ankle.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's one of my goals as I look across the country, I love going to play other places. Jason took me to Central Park last summer. I've played in,
Right.
like they're just Central Valley, but just playing somewhere, other places where the game's growing. So, I
Yeah,
love,
you're always welcome
well,
on our man-made beach.
I love it. I know that that's, I mean, and when you look across the country, all these NCAA, like these stadiums they're building, like they're incredible.
They're
So,
crazy.
yeah, so it's really fun to watch the game grow and the personalities that come out of it. And my usual favorite question to ask towards the end of these is, what advice you would give to younger players, and you already gave me that humility. So I'm trying to think what else. Where you see your place in the game going in the future, and the role that you would like to play in volleyball and beach volleyball.
Oh, that's a good question. I think I like started making the funny videos because I was like, having fun with it. But then I think it like developed into so much more of like, I've had people DM me and be like, oh, like you bring so much joy to the volleyball community. Like I share it with my teammate or my coach, and like they're like, these situations happen and it's opened up conversations with different players about certain things that we have to talk about, and so I just want to, I like look at the beach volleyball community, and sometimes I feel like at the high levels it's like kind of closed off, and like everyone's competing against each other, so it's like hard to like, I don't know, it's hard to like break in. Sometimes there's like different cliques or like things like that. So I just wanted to like make a difference in the community of like making it more of like an open community and more of like fun and just like lighthearted and not as serious as it needs to be, just like have fun. And that's what I would like to do.
I love that message of inclusiveness, and you are so approachable, and I thank you for that, because I've been, just kind of around this community. I remember moving here and looking around and being like, okay, these are legends of the game. But, in the end, we're all just people. We're all people who love volleyball. We're all people who love to break down the game. And if you end up getting lucky enough to sit with one of these legendary coaches and break down a game, like I got to at P1440 with Jeff Alzina, and I was sitting like watching a match and Reed Pretty's playing, and I'm like, I can't believe I get to sit here and break down this game with you and just listen. Because you don't ever think, but volleyball, that's the cool thing about volleyball, is it's so approachable. We're not the NBA, right?
Exactly.
You can get right up next to a player, and if you're approachable enough to have that conversation, you make a life connection. The story is always so much bigger than, the game that's going on. And so I thank you for that, because that message really resonates with both Jason and I, because we love the game and believe that, you make it good for every player from the youngest to the oldest when you have that mentality of like, and not to say like, you don't walk up and like bother a player right before their match, but in the end, the fans grow the game, and the stories grow the game. So
like I work with like a lot of like sponsors and like and stuff like that, and one of my pitches is that we aren't the NBA and you can just walk up to us, and we are way more easily accessible. Plus, it's only two people on the court, so like we're very easily accessible, whereas like a football team has like what, I don't know, like 100.
Right. And then you
like,
just you lose track of whatever's going on.
Yeah. And like I think because I don't come from California, or I don't come from like the traditional, like I played beach since I was 3, I always kind of felt like a little bit of an outsider when it comes to like finding a group to play pickup with, or like, just being in the community in general. So I think that's kind of why I started to do what I was doing, and started to being a little bit more inclusive to everyone, even as I do rise in the rankings and people start letting me play with them in their pickup groups, like just like trying to be more inclusive and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you did just put a post up on that, didn't you? The about, you know, feeling like you have to earn your way onto the court. Because I remember pushing my babies on the strand and being like, I want to play. How am I ever going to get out there to play? And I just happened to be working out at a gym where they were sponsoring a 6-man team and they lost their middle. And John was like, hey, Wendy, don't you play volleyball? Like, they need a middle. And I was like,
Perfect.
are you serious? I haven't played it had been 10 years at that point or something, you know? But you do feel like you have to have that like invitation, and you have to prove, and then you have to prove yourself, and then you're stressed, and then, you know, and it's like, it's such a cool vibe to say, like, anybody, there's a place for everybody. Now, you know, skill wise, you'll
Yeah,
figure it out, but like just to have that vibe of inclusiveness is so huge.
exactly. And that's kind of why I started PBU as well, because everywhere there is going to have that, like, and not just California. Like in
Yeah.
Utah, we did have that. And so that's why I strove to like build this so I could find a place for everyone, and everyone could be included if they wanted to, you know, and like some people don't want to, and that's fine. But like, whatever, if you want to, like, there's a place for you here and you can be included. So,
Well, that's a great message to send out there and to wrap this up on. But if people want to find you and want to come play with you at Project Beach Utah, where's the best places to find you?
so they can just check out my website if they want like more information on PBU. It's just projectbeachutah.com. Or they can find me on Instagram at Melissa Lessa. I answer my DMs always. If you DM me, I'll answer them. And TikTok obviously is at Beach Volleymel.
Okay, very good. And where are you headed next, volleyball wise?
I'm going to Doha,
Okay, what are the dates for that?
May 5th.
Okay, right around the corner.
Yep.
Very
Wow.
cool.
Tell Sharif I said hi.
I will.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation on what I meant to say today. And I look forward to keeping this relationship going and seeing what we can build between Be Better and Project Beach Utah, and just watching you rise through the ranks like I'm sure you will.
Love it. Thank you so much. This has been so fun.
Yeah.
And thank you for what you do as well. Like, we focus on me a lot, so I just want to say thank you for what you do. You're very positive, and you bring a good community within the beach community.
Well, thank you very much. It's a ton of fun to do. So I love it. We'll talk soon for sure.
Awesome.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jason.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for the What I Meant to Say podcast. For more real conversations like this one, come on over to the Be Better community at www.bebetterwithwendyjones.com, a place for athletes and parents to grow and find meaning behind what we do every day so that we can be strong on our own and better together.